Welcome to the Brand Doctor Podcast, strategies that help entrepreneurs build reputable and profitable brands. Here's your host, Henry Kaminski Jr.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Henry Kaminski here from UniqueDesigns.net with another Brand Doctor Podcast episode for you guys. And today's topic of conversation comes from one question that I've gotten over and over and over again from my Instagram following, believe it or not. So, the question is this, how do I build a solid foundation for my brand on social media and or for its brand image in general? So it's a very simple question, and it's a very simple answer. Consistency. It's consistency. Think of it this way, guys. Think of it as building a foundation to a home, right? And I tell this to my brand accelerator clients and my branding on demand clients all the time. It's like building a foundation for a home. When the masons come and they start laying brick by brick by brick, they don't just lay a square of bricks and wash their hands and be like, okay, foundation's done. I got my first round of bricks in. I'm good. It's not like that. They have to put layers and layers and layers of brick down until they get to the surface of the ground. And then, they have to continue those layers until they have the solid enough foundation to start building the home on top of it, right? So if you're not consistent with your brand's presence, with your brand's image on social media, you'll never lay that foundation. You'll never have a solid foundation to build on. So what do I mean by that? Let's dive in a little bit deeper here. So brand's image, right? You have to select your identity first. You have to understand what it is that you want your brand to look like, right? And you cannot deviate from that. So you can't have your brand looking one way one day with a specific color scheme, right? Or a specific font, right? Or a specific stance on a position that you feel really, really powerful against, right? Or for, right? And then the next day completely flip-flop on everything, change the color, change the font, change your stance on your message. Like, that drives people absolutely crazy. And the thing is nobody's going to pay attention to you because they don't know what you stand for. You're not doing a good job of planting your 2 feet on the ground and telling the world and telling your target audience what it is that you stand for. And that's the biggest mistake that I see people have. Especially when they're trying to first start their brands out and they're building from the ground up. They're all over the place. And when you're all over the place, your audience is going to be all over the place because they're not going to know what the hell to believe, follow, trust. They're not going to know any of that. So if you're not consistent with your messaging, with your identity, your design, your look, your field, the way you position yourself on different topics of conversation or the values that your brand stands for, it's going to be really, really hard for anybody to really lock on to what it is that you truly value and what you truly stand for. So that's the key. So you got to lay down that first layer of brick, and while you're laying that first layer down, you need to ask yourself, what do I stand for? Why am I doing that? Why am I building this brand in the first place? How am I helping my target audience? What help do they need? What solution am I specifically solving for them? Or selling them, I should say, right? How are you helping them? What do you love? What do you hate? What look and feel do you really want to represent your brand? Like, you really got to get clear on that before you lay the next layer of brick. So that is one of the answers that I give when people ask me that question. It all starts with being consistent, right? You can't just put out a random social media post and expect thousands of people to jump on it, right? You got to put dozens of social media posts out every week. You got to get daily with it. Because if you don't get daily with it, then how are they going to connect with you? How are they going to know you're the real deal? How are they going to trust you? How are they going to believe you? How are you going to start to build that relationship with them? I see a lot of inconsistencies nowadays, from the way people post on social media, the way they have their brands represented. They have one look and feel for their website, and then when you go to their, Facebook page or their Instagram page, they're using different fonts, they're using different color schemes, they're saying different things that aren't aligned with their brand's values or mission. And that is a huge subconscious disconnect to your audience. Your audience wants to feel safe. Your audience wants to know in 3 words what it is that you stand for. And if you're not providing that information clearly, you're never going to be able to connect on that deeper level. The other thing that I say is how to build that solid foundation when it comes to building your brand is you have to get your audience. You have to get your audience involved. If you're not interacting with your audience, if you're not answering every comment that they leave on your Instagram page or Facebook page or Facebook group, you're really doing yourself a disservice. People want to connect with people. And if you're feeling too good, like you can't connect with them because you just are too busy or too bougie to respond to every single comment, then you really need to look in the mirror and say, why am I building this brand in the first place? Because you're never going to be able to build this brand on your own. You're going to need people. You're going to need attention. You're going to need an audience. And if you're not nurturing that audience, if you're not connecting with them, if you're not showing them how much you care about them, then what makes you think they're going to care about you? Branding is a two-way street. Branding is a two-way street. You can't just take. And what I've realized over the years of being in this space and being an expert in this space is this. The more you give, the more that they know and feel on how much you care. It's the people that think short term. It's the people that think that, it's about the quick buck. Those are the ones that fail within the first 2 to 4 years. Think 5 years from now. Think 10 years from now. If you consistently do what it is that you do to help connect with your target audience, what that is going to look like for you and your brand. I'm going to leave you with that, guys, because that's a powerful sort of ending to this rant, if you will, or the answer to this question. You got to think long game. You got to think on a macro level. You got to think big picture. And you got to stay consistent, because if you stay consistent, now you start to build a compounding level of value. You start building compounding levels of value, and that's what builds a great brand from the bottom up. Not scattered thoughts, not scattered posts, not scattered values, not scattered imagery or brand identity that looks one way day one and completely different on day two. You gotta keep it real and you gotta keep it consistent. That's gonna build a tremendous amount of trust, and trust builds brands. So hope you got some value out of this, guys. If you haven't left a review yet, please leave a review. If you have a question or comment, drop it down below and I'll get back to you as soon as I possibly can. And in fact, if you haven't shared this podcast yet with a friend or colleague that could get some value out of it, please do. And again, catch me on social media. I love to interact with you. I'd love to answer your questions. I may even feature one of your questions on a future podcast show or Instagram Live or Facebook Live. So have an awesome day, guys, and I'll catch you on the next episode. Talk soon.
You've been listening to the Brand Doctor Podcast with Henry Kaminski Jr. To get your appointment with the doctor, visit Brand Audit at www.uniquedesignz.net.